Greetings, faculty, staff, students. We gather here to welcome the first-year students and to celebrate the start of the academic year. We call this ritual Opening Convocation, sort of an old-fashioned term, but colleges and universities across the country have these convocations. The word convocation means a gathering together of people or a call to gather together. And so today it's both. Tradition, Thiel tradition, has called us together, and we are gathered here. Each year at Thiel there are three important academic gatherings. This, the Opening Convocation, and then in February we have the Honors Convocation, and then of course in May we'll have our commencement. And seniors in the house, that commencement will come soon. Each of those three academic gatherings, the faculty put on their very best academic regalia, and in your program it will describe what the colors of these hoods mean. They typically connote which graduate university they attended and completed their advanced studies at. In my case, the University of Wisconsin. And then in some of the hoods, the color tells you what discipline they studied. It's a long and important tradition in higher education. And so 3 times a year, you'll see all the faculty gathered in all their colors, projecting their expertise and their knowledge, and their welcome, in this case today, to you first-year students. At Thiel, the Opening Convocation is also the first common hour. Each Thursday at Thiel, we take a break from classes and from athletic practices and meetings, and from 11 to 12, we put together a series of speakers, musical performances, events, activities. And so please check out the Common Hour schedule, particularly the first years, because this will be new to you, each Thursday at 11 o'clock. Is Common Hour required, students ask me. You'll find that sometimes the faculty will see a particular speaker, a program that fits your class, and so yes, they will say, please, you must go to Common Hour. But I would invite all of you to really take a look at that program. College is, after all, about learning more, being exposed to new and different ideas, and Common Hour provides that. Now this year, the students on the Common Hour Planning Committee also said, let's have a few of these activities have a little bit more activity, less listening, more action. And so you'll see in the fall Common Hour a number of really sort of interactive, fun programs sprinkled among the other programs planned for each Thursday. Now at Thiel on Tuesday from 11 till a little afternoon, there's also a break from classes, and we call Tuesdays Community Hour. And on Tuesdays, there might be some meetings, gatherings, student activities often use that a time to get together, faculty committees meet, but we also carve out that Tuesday time for our religious life program. And our new pastor, Brian Riddle, has already hit the ground running, thinking and rethinking how it is that we want to engage all of our students in a consideration of religious beliefs and values. And so the Tuesday, what we call chapel, will still be held in the chapel, but I would encourage all of you to check it out because I think Pastor Riddle has really bold ideas about ways to connect all students into a consideration of religious belief, whether you're Lutheran, Presbyterian, Methodist, Roman Catholic, whether you grew up going to a non-denominational church or no church at all. I think you'll find the Tuesday programs quite interactive and interesting. So that would be Community Hour on Tuesday. Again, college is not just about courses that you take, it's about being part of a learning community. Now, each year at Thiel, at least in the years that I've been here, we've seen a sort of organic type of theme develop each year from all of these activities, from the conversations we're having. And so 3 years ago, we saw a theme emerge about philanthropy, a fancy word about giving. And I think it emerged because the college had just successfully raised $65 million to support student scholarships. Many of the scholarships that you enjoy came from that campaign, as well as the Science Connector, the Pettis Building, and many other things. And so we celebrated the giving, and we had the president of the Dietrich Institute come and give the commencement talk about giving. The Dietrich Foundation is based in Pittsburgh, and it's that foundation that supports our Dietrich Honors Program. 2 years ago, the theme that emerged sort of organically, no committee deciding, just looking at what we as a community were thinking about. So 2 years ago, it was interfaith understanding. We had the great opportunity to have visitors come to campus from non-Christian faith traditions to interact with us, to teach us, to engage with us. It was a very dynamic year, which ended with a commencement address by the national and international expert on the Amish. Now, the Amish are a Christian community, but they practice that Christianity in a very different way. And so you'll see, if you're not from this region or from Lancaster County, you'll see buggies and Amish farms here with no electricity, little kids with straw hats. They live a very different type of Christian tradition. But Don Crable told us in that address now 2 years ago to be open to people with different beliefs than ours, and not to fall into what he called the sin of certainty, the sense that we know what's truth. Be open to learn from different people, as he did in his scholarship on the Amish. Now, last year, the theme that was unquestionably resonating at Thiel was the theme of community. And so if you remember, the upperclassmen, you remember the year started with that fun dedication of the Fred Rogers space in the Pettis Center, where we celebrated our connection with Fred Rogers. He received his first honorary degree from Thiel. And you probably checked out that room, that beautiful, colorful room of this educational visionary that believed that children should feel safe, there should be a sense of neighborliness in our community. We lived out those Fred Rogers values that year in 2 ways. First and foremost, the dean started a food drive with the first years, and I understand that last night, this now second year, the first years have collected over 4,000 pounds of food, which we're going to give to those in need. So thank you, first years, for stepping up and expressing service to this community. The second way we expressed that Fred Rogers belief in being a good neighbor is we established in the Johnson Center a pre-K success early childhood program for this community and for our education majors, and that early childhood classroom is going strong. Then, in the second semester, we welcomed our first criminal justice fellow to campus, Dr. Ruth Peterson, who talked about neighborhoods and why are some neighborhoods safe and why are some neighborhoods struggling with crime. And what her research taught us was it's not about any particular people who live in neighborhoods, it's about our neighborhoods, places where there's good economic investments and job opportunity, regardless of who lives there. So that was a very interesting talk. And then in April, our first Woodrow Wilson Fellow, Kaylee Crosley, came, and she talked to us about the community that is created on the internet and how we interact with those communities and how some of those communities are advancing respect and care for each other, and other communities are communities that are dangerously generating a spirit of hate. And she asked us to think about how we interact and how we create community on the internet. But the capstone of our theme on community last year came at commencement when Bill Strickland came and delivered the graduation address after receiving an honorary degree. Bill Strickland is a Pittsburgh luminary. He is the founder of Manchester Bidwell, a dynamic community center that brings high schoolers in for art in the afternoon and does work development all day long. He's recognized both in Pittsburgh and nationally. His vision for community centers is now a national and international movement. And in Sharon at HopeCat, we have a little Manchester Bidwell right up the road. At his address, he inspired all of us to dedicate our lives to opening up opportunities for others. Now, at many graduations, you hear that. But hearing it from Bill Strickland was truly profound, because this is a person who has done that. Now, enjoying his visit to campus and being myself very inspired by his words, this summer, I finally read his little autobiography, this wonderful book called Make the Impossible Possible, and I recommend it. In his book, he is looking back. I think he wrote it when he was probably just in his early 60s, and he's looking back and he says to himself, what explains the path I've taken? And then he asks, how is it possible for a young African-American man from a very poor neighborhood in Pittsburgh to see a life unfold with meaning and purpose, a life richer than he could ever imagine, rich with experiences, opportunities, accomplishments, recognitions. Bill Strickland recently was awarded a Genius Award by the MacArthur Foundation and many, many other awards, and recognizing not just what he did at Manchester Bidwell, but his vision for that good community-based life. So in his book, he's asking, how did I become who I am? Now that's an interesting question. It's the title of my comments, Becoming Who You Are. Now the concept and this phrase, becoming who you are, is in fact from a German philosopher, Friedrich Nietzsche, another summer reading book that I enjoyed in the month of July. Now, I'm going to assure you, we're not going to go into a long afternoon dissertation on European philosophy, although where my colleagues, Professor White and Professor Morgan, would probably love an afternoon on this very complex thinker, Friedrich Nietzsche. But I think, while we're not going to go into depth there, I think this concept is still worth considering, this becoming who we are. Now, typically, when you say I'm going to become something, you think that I'm going to change. And I actually heard you say you're going to change. And I think our first years are all thinking, I'm going to become a college student. So that means I'm not going to be a high school student. For many of you, I'm not going to live at home. I'm no longer going to be the person I was in high school. Well, I'm here to suggest something different. The authentic experience of becoming is more about self-discovery than it is about change. That's what Bill Strickland says. In fact, that's what Nietzsche says. The essence of Bill Strickland's autobiography is that he looks back at his life and he sees that the person he is today, that luminary, that international expert, that genius, all of that grew out of who he was as a young African-American man, out of his values, out of his passion. For Strickland and for all of us, becoming who we are is about understanding our values, our beliefs, figuring out what gives us joy. Now, how do we do that? Do we go to a cave and meditate? Do we go to our residence hall and shut the door? No, that's the other point that Bill makes. The way you figure out those beliefs and values is by being open to other ideas, to people, to experiences. In some instances, those experiences will confirm your beliefs, and others, they'll challenge you. This journey of becoming who you are, of course, is easier when you're Bill Strickland's age looking back. It's harder when you're younger and you're looking forward to so much that's unknown. But take Bill Strickland's advice. If you want to be successful in the classroom, on the playing field, in your career, and most importantly, in your life, figure out what gives you deep gladness, and then pursue that gladness with an open and curious mind to do good for others. As this year begins, I think a theme is emerging. It's about finding how our beliefs and values can give us purpose, on how knowing ourselves, knowing our stories, in doing that, we are becoming who we are. It's true for Thiel College as well. For 153 years, Thiel has been becoming who it is over and over again through its mission to prepare students, to prepare all of you, now listen to this, for careers and lives of meaning and purpose. Not just careers, preparing you for careers and lives of meaning and purpose. As we together, and especially for our new students, strive to understand what's most important to each of us, we will become who we are. Embarking on that journey, we want to be open to others, and in that we will find joy. And so I say, let's have a wonderful and joyful year becoming who we are. Thank you.